I'm serious.
Hello, and welcome to the Libri Labra Book Club. I am joined today by my husband, John, aka BookTube Hubby, and also by Tom, Book Club VIP member. And before we get started, like always, if you ever want to join us on camera to discuss the book, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member on patreon.com/Libri Labra. And there's a few other perks. You get to be in a rotation where you help us pick what we're reading. You get to be part of an exclusive Facebook chat where we're constantly talking about the different media that we're taking in, whether it be something we're watching or reading or listening to. And this month we read Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I don't know if spoilers are even a thing. I'm pretty sure like we can just kind of jump into it, I think. But we can still get initial thoughts. So it was a short book. It's a holiday book. Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about why you picked it other than
Sure.
those things?
It just shows us, we know, or okay, me saying all, but Lord of the Rings. That's all we know that he wrote, and then it's just interesting to see a different side of him. The way he would write to his kids in the character of Father Christmas, and making up all these stories. And it's a selection of letters from him to his kids over the course of like 20 years or so, I think it is. And that's what made me interested. And the other thing that made me interested is primary reader is Derek Jacobi, one of my favorite actors. If you listen to the audiobook, if you have it, it's well worth the listen, I think, because everybody they got was fantastic. Derek Jacobi as Father
Were there
Christmas.
multiple narrators?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was one person playing different
No,
roles.
Polar Bear was John Moffat. He the other two are in like occasionally, but they do such a good job. And Christian Roscoe was the elf, the secretary elf that appears later in the book. Well, it's not really a book; it's just a collection of letters. So yeah, that's why we're reading it. And I figured it was short. It was nice to put you in the holiday spirit, and why not? You can only read this Christmas Carol so many times.
I didn't even know this book existed, and I enjoyed it because I think you do really get to see
Mm-hmm.
uh, the care that he put into like
Mm-hmm.
writing these letters for his children, and how that kind of changed over time in regards to, like, in the beginning he was writing to John, and then
Right.
like after a few years you hear him saying stuff like, it's okay if this is the last year that John's hanging up his stocking,
Yeah.
I won't forget him, we still
Yeah.
love it. Like and stuff like that. So I thought it was a good holiday read, and I went into Barnes and Noble today to see if I could pick up a copy to like gift it during a white elephant, but
Mm.
it was a madhouse, so I didn't get a chance
Ah.
to track it down. But I may try going back because it was cool. I, John prefers audio, and I know you had said that it was really short, so in my mind I was like, oh, we're just going to listen to the audio and it'll be fine. But but as I started listening to the audio, it wasn't sinking in, which happens to me a lot with audio anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I was like, let me just buy the book on Kindle, and that's when I realized that there was images. I didn't know that there was
Yes.
images. Yeah, so I'm so glad that I bought it and I was able to see those beautiful illustrations. And I
Well,
know,
the letters do make reference to him, like, "Oh, sorry about how poor the pictures count. They look fine to me." I mean,
Right.
yeah. So
I also appreciate that some of those letters he described, like I had a visual representation, like as he described what I was, I drew a picture about this story. I hope this is a good representation. So I think it was cool for me to imagine what he
mhm.
was, and then she showed me the pictures today. So
Yeah.
I didn't have
You didn't. Oh,
right, I
that's
didn't
right.
see the
Yeah.
pictures. I consumed all through audio. So, but it was cool to see uh, how much care he had taken in for such little detail in some of those
Right.
things. And even though it seems like they were written or drawn by, you know, a child, he put a lot of care and detail in certain
Hmm.
in those illustrations.
you think it would look like it was drawn by a child?
It got better as it went.
Yeah, there's definitely like, and that's why I was asking. I was like, did he illustrate these? Did he
I
like,
believe the answer is yes. Yeah.
yeah? And so like, did he just happen to get better over time from practice from like doing it for so many years?
Must have
Or
been
like
other things he was working on too.
But some of them were just so detailed that I was like, did he start this in January? And like, like
that's apart from like the envelopes themselves, which will look
Right.
like illustrated text, for some of them. So.
Yeah, and then he also, what I thought was cute was that, as like different people jumped onto the letters to provide their commentary or to write the kids' letters, that their handwriting was completely different. Like the way the bear wrote stuff was completely different. He also had a lot of misspellings and stuff.
Yes. And that's why it was great to have the different narrators, because the guy, like I said, everybody they got was like top notch, especially Derek Jacobi, if I haven't mentioned that already. But yeah.
But I had never heard anything about, because like to me, those are like professional illustrations. Like those can go with any like book or children's book or whatever. And I had never heard of Tolkien being artistic in that way, like an illustrator. So I feel like I want to know so much more about him.
I'm tempted to say that he drew maps for like the Lord of the Rings stuff. So
he did. There are some detailed things, but yeah, I don't think he was an illustrator, as you said, right. But he really did take the time to practice an art. Like it's from what it sounds like, he did it more for his children than he did for himself.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the interesting part to me, is that he took the time to do all of this throughout so many years. And I was just impressed that someone took the time to put it all together after the fact.
Yeah.
You said it was one of his children's second wife?
It was Christopher's second wife, yeah, that edited the book and put it together. Right. Because it says on it, edited by Bailey Tolkien, and I was like, who's that? So I went digging to find out who it was, and it was
one of the family, obviously. Who?
But the fact that it was a wife.
Business now.
Right.
It was the kid's wife and not like
one of the children.
Obviously, Christopher must have collected everything and been like, here. And I think she just maybe happened to work in publishing or something. And but it's
got Tolkien's name on it, it'll sell. And here you go, No, that's too cynical, but kind of true in a way.
But I have no real point of reference in regards to when Tolkien was born or like when he was doing everything, because I've never looked that stuff up. So I didn't really know. Like I knew that he was no longer with us, but I didn't know how long ago everything was. So those letters gave me more of a place and time for him. But also then I was like, well, what about the children? And then, did you read the article I sent you yesterday?
Which?
Oh, you didn't even see it.
Apparently not. The answer is no.
Where it says that Priscilla had died.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and it was like, it was in March of 2020, either 2022 or 2021, that she passed away at like 92 years old.
What?
So I was like, wow, like just hearing about them as little kids in the book, and then just kind of placing all of that. It was just
the years in the book was the 20s and 30s, so I guess that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, up to the 40s.
Right to the 40s, like the middle 40s.
Right. Wow. Yeah, and then like you kind of see in the letters the things that are happening in the background, while not necessarily like really seeing what's happening. Like what I mean by that is just like you can get from context clues how that third child was born, like that they're aging up, and like it started with letters to John, then it was John and Christopher, then it was like, oh hey, the three of them, then John kind of dropped off and it was Christopher and Priscilla, and then eventually it was just the letters in the final was just Priscilla.
Right.
So I'm like, where are the boys? Like, did they move out? Do they have their own family at that point? Like, what are they even doing? Like, yeah, but also
they grew out of the tradition.
Santa mentions a lot towards the end, like when you get into like the late 30s and the 40s, how he couldn't get the stuff that they had been asking for. And like you hear about like damage to different places or things that are happening, and so like the war that's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
the Goblin War in his letters. Yes, happens right around World War II.
Right. That's interesting to point out.
So just kind of like, hearing what Father Christmas is saying, but also trying to recognize like how the war may have been impacting
everybody's rationing probably at that time.
Yeah. And how he was kind of trying to explain that to his kids through these letters. Like, hey, this stuff is not available. I'll try. Sorry, this wasn't the book you wanted, but
right.
It's a book. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like all of that, like it just, at the forefront, it is just these letters he wrote to his kids. But then when you put it together with history and like everything else, I don't know. I definitely want a copy. I just felt like it was really, really meaningful. And I also just kind of feel honored to get a glimpse of that, to be able to see that, because we wouldn't have been around during that time. So the fact that those letters were saved and preserved and they were able to share them, I think that's awesome.
Something you don't get from email, obviously. But one of the things I noticed though is that they were all handwritten, obviously, and Father Christmas says, "Oh yeah, sorry, I think my his handwriting's improving," because like apparently he was concerned about it, like he had shaky handwriting, and it's like I don't know if that's just him or if he has like a condition that
that's what we were talking about earlier. We were trying to figure out like if
did he have Parkinson's before we learned to look for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And is that why he was drawing all the time? Because that just kept him in practice and kept everything,
That is a calming.
Yeah. And just to keep the muscles active. Yeah.
I would love to learn more about him to find out the answer to that. But like comparatively, the illustrations were just so good and the line work was so good that it seems like the shakiness was very much intentional to me. At first I was like, it seems like someone who wants to do calligraphy but doesn't know how to do calligraphy, kind of like he was just trying to embellish the writing. Then John said something about like, what if he's just shivering while he's writing this because it's like the winter and it just happens to come out.
Also possible, yeah.
Like he just very simply just, okay, well I'm gonna do this like I'm sitting here in a cold, like I'm
right.
So it could have been either one.
Yeah,
he was just a storyteller. He could have embellished everything.
Oh yeah, but it's also indicative, as a storyteller, what you don't say as well as you do, and that's what we're getting in these letters. Clearly, had something. There's something to do with his handwriting. We don't know exactly what it is, but it was a concern, obviously, because he brought it up in multiple letters. So,
yeah, I wonder how the letters were received. I know sometimes it said like delivered by messenger, delivered by post, delivered by like however the letters arrived. But I wonder what the experience was like for the children getting them, if they got the letter and immediately opened it and then read it themselves, or if it was like, Dad,
a family thing, right?
Father Christmas sent us another letter. Can you read it to us? Like, so was he also involved in the reading of it and like the dramatization of the whole thing? Because like as little, I had trouble reading it. So I don't know how like little kids would have been able to read it. But it's also interesting to note how like the letters start off so minimal, like super basic in the beginning, and then they get so much longer over time because like obviously the kids are growing up and they can process more and like really take in the story.
And he was a busy man too, so we like, when I have time, I'm just gonna write. I owe you guys a letter. Here it is. Whatever it happens to be, too. But
excuse me a minute. I'm gonna use the restroom and find out what cat is pounding on what door.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I don't know what years he wrote The Lord of the Rings, but I guess I'm wondering how everything overlapped.
What the timeline was, right?
Yeah.
And also, and clearly he wrote other things. Well, they were in the same universe, but it wasn't just The Lord of the Rings. And when all that happened, I have no idea. But Plus, I think he was teaching at maybe Oxford at the time too. So it wasn't, he was. I don't think he was just a writer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I know he was good friends with C.S. Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've heard that a lot.
Yes. But reading this, it's like, when he shows polar bear's language, it's like, oh, how typically Tolkien. We're gonna make a language up for this book.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
That and this is what happens when one or possibly both of your parents are creatives. This is what you get, sort of a thing. But to go back to your original question, I mean, judging from the thought and the care that he put and the time he put into the letters, I would assume they were very well received. Because why would he do it year after year after year in that manner?
Well, I'm sure they were always excited to receive them. I'm just wondering, like, what it looked like when they did. Like,
and they survived.
Family thing, right? So somebody was holding.
And the letters survived too. So.
Yeah, I don't think, because this book had an introduction, and I know I read it, but I don't think it said like a full story of how that book came about. Like, I don't know if it was like one year Christopher was looking through the attic and found all the letters, or
yeah, they just could have been out there, and it's like, hey, we should put these together somehow, and here we are. And I don't know if they're all of them, but it looks like they're all of them because they were year after year. So
that's interesting. Yeah, because I was wondering that too, if there were some missing. Because I'm sure, but yeah, if each year was in there, unless they tried to make that up after the fact.
Mm-hmm. I doubt it. There would be some Tolkien scholar that says, "I know all of his letters."
This doesn't sound like him. This is not how he creates.
This is not part of the official.
This is not canon.
It's a listing, like a listing of his works, because composers have it, and I'm sure authors have it too. His official bibliography. It's like, this is not part of it, sort of a thing. But I mean, on the same token, why would you? It's just letters to his kids. I mean, what? I don't see the value other than I'm writing to my kids, and this is what I'm writing, sort of a thing. So.
Well, there's an image all the way at the end that's like a drawing of outer space with the planets and the stars and stuff. It's very beautiful. And at the bottom it says Merry Christmas, and the calligraphy in that looked really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just again comparing it to his handwriting in the letters. Mm-hmm. And I had said, look at the calligraphy here. It's so different than in the letters. And you were the one that said that you felt like maybe they put that in afterwards.
The watermark on the bottom right that you pointed out, it was an N with a circle around it. That's not J.R.R. Tolkien anything.
Right. Right.
That may be who owns the letter, though. That's the thing.
I don't know what all their middle names were. Because it could be a C with an N inside it. Right? Christopher something. I don't know.
Well, he had middle names himself, so.
Yeah, it's funny because John was just laughing about that one of the sons' name was John. I said, well, wasn't Tolkien's name John?
I believe so.
Yeah.
John's likely his firstborn, so guess what?
Yeah.
Somebody actually walked out of work yesterday, and one of the students was like, "You're not this John or this John?" I'm like, "Nope. How many Johns work here?" And I said 4. I figured out this morning it's 6.
Are you serious?
There's 6 Johns that work for us.
Wow.
So there you go.
Couldn't be me. That's crazy. Wow. I think what's funny about that is just how excited Johns are to name their sons John.
Thanks, Dad.
That's funny.
It's a powerful name, right? That's what I keep hearing. I mean, I'll accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think more about the letters. What was their like family like? I'm sure there was a mom. Obviously, there was 3 kids, but like, I don't know, Mrs. Claus. I don't remember her being mentioned in the letters or anything.
I wonder if we can actually look up when the idea
Is that
of Mrs.
okay? I was
Claus
gonna say like
became
I
a
wonder
thing.
when.
Right. But
It was after he enlisted the help of the elves.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and how he's essentially drawing on his own mythos that he created for Middle Earth. It's like, there's elves and goblins and
Goblins.
gnomes here too. So no halflings, but they're probably around there somewhere.
Not yet.
Not yet. But
I don't remember what year Bear set off that really large firework
oh
or
yeah,
whatever. I'm wondering if there was more to that.
yeah,
Like
you
if
don't
there
know.
was, yeah. Something loud and scary that he was trying to
Mhm.
explain away.
Huh. Like bombs being dropped somewhere?
Yeah. I don't remember what year it was that
Right.
happened. So
I definitely did not expect this to end up in a war. I was reading these letters and I'm like, what's going on?
You weren't even thinking about it? You weren't like lining up?
Not at that point. No, I was just when I was like, why is he telling his kids about murdering out like gnomes and this bear is walking through a field of like kicking and punching and I'm like, wow, he's just telling his kids everything.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it until he started to apologize for not having stuff, and I'm like, why does Santa not have stuff? Like, and then I was like, oh wait, and then that's when I like started thinking about the years,
what was going on at that point in time.
Yeah. Because it wasn't just one letter; it was like multiple letters where he was like, "Sorry, I don't have what you asked for."
That's a very good observation.
Again, it's what he doesn't say that's intriguing as well. So you just have to infer, from the text what he's talking about. But yeah, to John, your point, you have to have an antagonist. That's what drives the story forward. I mean, it would be, it would be roughly, the same letter every year.
Right.
And Polar Bear can only have so many misadventures.
Right.
You're like, okay.
I was like, why are you keeping Polar Bear around, man? He keeps messing everything up.
Yeah. Falling on stuff and breaking stuff and, they broke the North Pole and, all the other stuff.
That actually begs the question, what does the polar bear represent? Because at some point he said that the polar bear had done something and injured himself, and we had to wait for the polar bear's recovery and had a small celebration after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So was the polar bear somebody in their life that they were...
I don't know enough about his life.
He didn't know how to save Mrs. Claus at that point?
I don't know.
That the polar bear does the helping things, but I don't know. Interesting.
I'm wondering, like, what's up with polar bear getting whooping cough? Like, if that was going around, or like they all got sick, or.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine at some point that would be true. So, with 3 kids.
I was reading it, I didn't really process that whooping cough is something that we could get. It because it was polar bear. I was like, oh, he's got kennel cough. Mm-hmm. So like I didn't really stop to think about whooping cough being a human sickness. So yeah.
Plus he also references cave paintings in the book too. In the letters as well. And how the goblins had theirs and they were awful. And I forget who the other one who did the first, like the really good ones, but yeah, there's that in there too.
I know you've already mentioned that you thought like the audiobook was really good and the actors an excellent job.
They did a phenomenal job. Yeah.
If I was to recommend this to anyone, though, I think I would tell them to just get the physical copy so they could see all the illustrations. But also, like, I don't know, the music kind of annoyed me.
The music did annoy me. Yes.
The music between every letter was too much.
Yes. Yes.
Like, do we gotta sit for another minute of this before I
Yeah. Apparently, the answer is yes. Yeah.
This is 2 hours. Probably added an
Like
hour.
maybe once every 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah, maybe. Like,
but
and-
every song, no. Too much.
And like, I'm not sure if I realized whether or not was it a different song each time, or was it the same song multiple times?
Oh no, they recycled it. Yeah, it was
okay, all right.
1 or 2 songs. Yeah, I heard it enough to know.
It was just the bells chiming, right?
No, but it was a song though. I thought it was like a Christmas song.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a Christmas song, it would lead you to think of Christmas because of the setting. But yeah, I don't remember. Surprisingly, I don't remember what it was.
It's
I thought it was just sleigh bells and bells.
I thought I recognized a Christmas song at some point. So I don't know. I might have to go back just to see if I was going crazy or not. But it was even more annoying because apparently I don't think we did anything, but our Alexa God. Every time we ask her something has a little
Christmassy
jingle before she responds.
I haven't asked it.
And so we were like, what?
Nobody asked for that.
So now every time we ask her something, we get that little jingly intro, and we're just like,
how do we turn that off?
Yeah. Yeah. John keeps getting frustrated and saying bah humbug. And I'm like, it'll probably stop. You think it'll stop? Like,
it'll stop after Christmas.
You think? Or you think she'll go to New Year?
It'll all the way to New Year.
That'll be all like
leave the lights up until New Year's.
It's been funny. We ask her for the weather, and she's like, "Bing bong, bing bong, do do do." But
I don't think I have that. But anyway,
I'm like, I really wanted to look at the book today at Barnes & Noble because I'm curious how it's laid out. Do you have a physical copy, or were you looking at it in an ebook?
Ebook and audiobook. That's why I experienced it.
Because, like, in the ebook, the illustrations are just kind of like for me, in a black screen.
They're kind of thrown around.
Yeah. So, like, I'm curious how it's integrated into the page. If it's a bit more ornate, or just more care was taken to decorate it.
I think it's just because of the page layout of the Kindle itself. I mean, that's just the only true, like you said, the only true way you're going to find out is actually look at the book and how it's all laid out intentionally, as opposed to this is what happened to fit on the page, sort of a thing.
Because I already want to buy it, but if it's like really nicely laid out, then I'll get 2 copies.
Oh.
I'll gift.
Alrighty then.
I'll keep one, gift the other one.
But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, at a certain point, there's only so many holidays. Well, I read that one and that one and that one, and this seemed like something. Well, I'm pretty sure nobody's read this, so me included.
No, that's a great choice.
No, I was going to ask because, like, normally around Christmas time we read a Christmas story. So I was trying to remember what we read last year.
Was that the year we read all the short stories that I had selected?
3? I don't.
Yeah, Frederick Backman's I think was one of them, and I can't remember. And Christmas Carol may have been one, and there was one other one. I think. I know we did that one year. I don't know if
right. I don't think it was last year.
But I always try to. If I get December, I will make sure to try to get
No, I know what we read. You picked it. It was that.
Oh, I think I know the one. I know the one. I know the one.
It was it's got a lot of views on my channel, more so than some other stuff.
Should I not have picked? I don't understand.
I don't remember the name, or like.
Was it Christmas related?
I think yes.
Yes.
When Christmas Comes, I think was the name of it. hold on. It was like kind of thrillerish.
The Andrew Clavin book?
Yes.
Yes.
You don't remember, John?
Nope.
I do.
You said it's Andrew Clavin?
Yes, Andrew Clavin.
Okay.
Klavan. He said hopefully.
This one.
Right.
I will tell you why I remember it so clearly off camera.
I do remember the
like
cover now. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like wasn't he like a cop?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were in town of all the military folk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so that's what we read last year.
So.
Makes sense.
Yes.
I don't know. I think that's all I got. I think that's
It was short.
It was short.
Yeah.
I don't know. I absolutely appreciate the time and consideration taken into something so heartfelt that would have just been lost to the ether. You know? So what's her name?
Bailey.
Bailey? Thank you, Bailey.
Tolkien.
Pretty sure a lot of fans are happy this is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I used to keep journals, and I haven't in a few years, but I've been thinking about starting it back up. And like, I think one of the biggest reasons is just that, like, leaving a piece of yourself behind. And I just read a book that mentions like keeping a journal so that your children can find it later on and kind of, you know, preserve your memory and stuff like that. So I'm probably going to start journaling again in 2024, but.
And technology wasn't a thing for always, but recently someone had pointed out that after having their child, that they are every picture, memory, whatnot is being sent to an email address that they're going to give them when they get older.
Oh, that's cool.
So not only do they have their own memories, but they can also look back on them themselves when necessary.
There's I don't know if you've seen the commercial for it, and I forget the name of it specifically, but there's this company that you buy a package from and you tell them who you're gifting it to, and that person receives an email. I don't know if it's every day or once a month, or I don't know what the frequency is, but they receive an email with a question and they have to reply to that question and tell a story. And so by the end of the year, they compile all of those stories right, and put it in a book. And that's the present that you give them. And
there you go.
Yeah, I keep seeing it come up and it sounds like super, super cool, super interesting, like the hardbound book that they get with the stories of their life in it. I don't know. It's awesome.
That's interesting.
So
how much is that?
I don't know if it was like 50 or 200. I looked at it once and then
still that's either not way, bad for something like that. I imagine it being a lot more than that.
I'm going to look it up again. Unfortunately, I forget the name of it, but I saw the commercial again just recently and I was like, that's such a cool gift. That's such a, and then, you know, and it's usually old people that are receiving the gift because they have lived their lives. They have all these stories to tell. And so just thinking about that book still being around to be passed down through the family afterwards is pretty cool. So do we have a rating? Or what do you rate this?
I mean, it deserves 5 stars in my opinion.
Okay.
I'll give it that. Just because of the content. It's not like it was written to be a book. So we can't grade it on that aspect, but what it information that it has, and you know, this just it's a piece of someone's soul, literally. So I think it's worth a lot more than most people think.
I think it's a piece of a lot of people's soul, not just him as he was giving it, but like also I'm sure it meant a ton to his children, obviously. And then I think it's also a piece of history as history was happening at the time.
That's true.
I think that is what makes it extra valuable. So I also would give it 5 stars.
And I would give it 4.5 and then round it down to a 4. You know. Sorry. No, when I read a 5-star read, there's something that's like, it's like, ooh,
Something has to
this is
stand
good.
out.
Yeah.
Is that
Right.
like a
Yeah.
gut thing for you?
Yes.
Or is it okay?
Yeah. I hate to say, did it spark joy? But you know what I mean. It's like it sparks a gut reaction. And it says, ooh, or like you're reading something and then like something happens, like, oh yes, right. So, like as an example, Klaus. When we were at Klaus, I said when I first read it, it's like, oh my god, this is the most amazing thing ever.
Oh wait,
5
was that
stars.
last year, or we read Klaus? Now I'm gonna have to look back at what we did, but that might have been November's pick. I think Klaus was close enough to the holidays.
Yeah, it was somewhere around. I don't know if it was exactly on, but yeah, that's also available on Omnibus now. Although the original one and like the 2 or 3 other volumes that go with it, but there's the other 2 volumes are okay, but that first one was like, yeah, that's a classic to me. So
that was awesome. All right, so 5-star, 4.5 rounded down, and next month in January we are reading. Tom, it was your pick.
Yes, is it Rules of Civility? By Albert Howells. I read his A Gentleman in Moscow, and it's like, well, given the premise, I'm not sure how I'm going to like this. And again, it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. What he does with the premise, and it's like, yeah, well done. So I wanted to read another of his books for like forever, and it's like, since I'll give this a shot now. So
good way to do it.
Yep.
It sucks that I didn't have a copy to hold up for either of these books, but
just superimpose it here.
Hold on, let me see if I can.
Like whenever. Yeah. Oh wait, you can't do that. This is live.
We'll edit that in post. Yeah, trust me.
Let me see if I can pull it up on the Zon.
Oh, incidentally, that hardcover for the Tolkien books is like $30.
Is it?
Yeah. As would be fit at one of those small hardback books. Yeah, it's like, they're like, you get like the newest John Grisham, that's like maybe 20. Oh yeah, those would be like 25. It's like, oh, there you go. Yeah.
Rules of Civility.
That's it.
So that's what we're reading in January.
Yes. Start the year off.
What is it classified as? Is it like historical fiction or?
I believe it's historical fiction.
Okay.
Allow me to look.
Looks something very akin to The Great Gatsby. Is that true?
It might take place during the same time.
Yes. There it is. Rules of Civility.
Does it also take place in New York? Did I read that?
Let's see. Oh wow, that's a little too zoomed in. This sophisticated and I didn't know it was his first novel. Entertaining first novel presents the story of a young woman whose life is on the brink of transformation. On the last night of 1937, roughly around when these letters were written, 25-year-old Katie Content is in a second-rate Greenwich Village jazz bar when Tinker Gray, a handsome banker, happens to sit down at the neighboring table. This chance encounter and its startling consequences propel Katie on a year-long journey into the upper echelons of New York society, where she'll have little to rely upon other than a bracing wit and her own brand of cool nerve. With its sparkling depiction of New York City's social strata, its intricate imagery and themes, and its immensely appealing characters, Rules of Civility won the hearts of readers and critics alike. So that's the blurb. 4.08 on Goodreads, by the way.
Nice. I will eat up anything that takes place in New York City. So I'm excited to check that out. All right. Well, if you guys have been here this whole time, hope you really enjoyed Letters from Father Christmas. And one more time, if you ever want to join us on camera for our discussions, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member at patreon.com/Libri Labra. Outside of that, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday and an excellent new year. And we'll see you again at the end of January. So
24.
Oh boy. 2024.
See you next year.
We'll see you next year. Bye.
Bye.